All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crypto News and Investigative Reports. I'm glad that you're joining me today, CNIR. Thank you. Coming to you from the Silicon Valley, California. It's kind of rainy out here, but we got nice breeze and palm trees. So it's actually going. It's a beautiful day out here today in the Silicon Valley, California, San Jose, Oakland, San Francisco. Good to be with you today. We got some pretty good news. We got some news on Stellar. We got some news on central banks. We got some news on the IMF. It's been a lot of news since I've made my last video, but we're going to try to get into some of the things that we've tweeted. But please follow us. Please follow us. Crypto News and Investigative Reports. Our handle is RobTech. ROBTECHP, RobTechP. Crypto News and Investigative Reports at RobTechP. Hopefully you'll join us there, and please tell your friends, tell your family. I am not a financial advisor. Let's get that straight off the top. I'm not a financial advisor. You can use these as educational purposes, or for entertainment purposes, or just something to share with your friends, your family. Please join me, though, in sharing to get the word out. Crypto News and Investigative Reports. Glad that you're here today. Let's get into some news. All right, here we go. The first thing is a joke. The first thing here is the joke. Craig Wright doubles down on his claim that he is guess who? Craig Wright says that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. He's claiming the title. Australian programmer and talented cryptographer Craig Wright he's been trying to convince everybody that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. You might want to go to our Twitter page and read the article. But here's the document. Here's a document right here that's being floated around. Craig Wright filed a comment in the CFTC proceedings on Ethereum. Comment for orders and other announcements 83 FR 64563. Craig Wright, this is a response to a generalized format to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission request for input on crypto assets, mechanisms, and markets. My name is Dr. Craig Wright, and under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, I completed a project that I started in 1997 that was filed with the Australian government in part under an Aussie industry project registered with the Department of Innovation and BlackNet. I don't want to go any further, guys. If you're interested in this, go ahead, read the document. But the big news on this is that Craig Wright doubles down on his claim that he is Satoshi Nakamoto. But what I don't understand about it, guys, is that why would anybody who is Satoshi Nakamoto, why would you want to go out and tell anybody that you're Satoshi Nakamoto? That's the whole thing about Satoshi Nakamoto, is that he doesn't want anybody to know who he is, right? And so I don't know if you're interested in that story. That's kind of a crazy story. The next thing here is, of course, JPMorgan and the Bank of America. This is some more of the fallout that JPMorgan has announced that they have their own coin. What kind of effect is that having on their partners, on their banks, on their friends? You know, JPMorgan has been around since America has been a country, basically, since banks started. They have $25 trillion. I mean, of assets. They are mega big. Whether anybody like it or not, JPMorgan is the mega bank. Okay, they have mega money. All right, but they are working with Bank of America, and it says this time. Here's what the title is. It's not a prediction. JPMorgan and Bank of America. This time, the comment is tucked into the bank's 301-page annual regulatory filing, and this is the gist of it. It is saying cryptocurrencies are among innovations that could someday disrupt parts of the financial system. So you want to go tweet on that, read that. And kind of see where more of the fallout, because I know a lot of the people that are Bitcoin people that follow me, the Ethereum people that are following this community, and the XRP people that are following this community. You might want to go back and really see kind of what effect that the JPMorgan announcement that was made earlier last week, what kind of fallout that's having on their connections, because JPMorgan is connected with Bank of America. They're connected with Wells. I mean, you know, all of these guys are connected, right? In fact, I think I read that JPMorgan back in the day, when before electricity, their family was one of the first families to ever have electricity in their home. And that's how long that the JP Morgans has been around, the Morgans and the Rothschilds and the, you know, all of the other rich families, the aristocratic rich families. They've been around a long time. So anyway, they're talking to some of the Bank of America people, and they're trying to decide, the Bank of America is trying to decide whether they want to have their own virtual currency, depending on whether the JP Morgan virtual currency works. Wells Fargo, I'm hearing in the wind that Wells Fargo is actually thinking about coming up with their own virtual currency. So, you know, it remains to be seen what happens. I know a lot of people are saying they're not going to make it, but maybe so, maybe not. This is one of those things. In this instance, that time will tell. If you follow crypto news and investigative reports, one of the things we do tweet out a lot is central bank information about central bank articles, because my personal opinion is that everything is resting on whether central banks are going to, what they're going to do. And at this point, no central banks are using any virtual currencies. No central banks are using virtual currencies. If you follow any of the crypto news and investigative reports community, you'll find out that I have said over and over again on probably every one of my videos, until the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, central banks get together and get on the same page, they will not adopt one single virtual currency. And so because they all work together. And number one. Then number two, virtual currency really is not really a threat right now. It's an investment opportunity. I would agree with everybody saying it's a great investment opportunity, but calling it a threat right now to central banks is just not. It's not a threat to central banks. Central banks get to drag their feet right now because virtual currency is only in its infancy. It's in its infantile stage right now, and nobody actually has to really. The central banks don't have to panic about it. All right. In a recent survey conducted by the Nigerian-based Bitcoin startup Luno, has shown that quite a number of its citizens are taking an interest in cryptocurrencies, despite the Central Bank of Nigeria's warning against investing in crypto. So the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying, do not invest in crypto. And see, here you go with more of that. Dog if we do, dog if we don't, what we're going to do, we don't know. We still continue to get that type of information coming from the central bank. So here we get the same kind of the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying the same thing. Here we go. Here's another central bank news. The Bank of Lithuania is changing the term from virtual currency, which was used to date in this position, to virtual assets. We'll see what kind of difference that makes, going from currency to asset, asset to currency. I don't think that there's that much difference. And in its latest statement, the bank did not defines how virtual currencies can be used. So, you know, you hear cryptocurrencies, you hear virtual currencies, you hear digital assets, and the Bank of Lithuania, and which I tweeted out of all 12 countries, they're all tweeted out 12 different countries, and these 12 different countries have different ways of defining what I call virtual currency. So, but then again, we'll see what happens in Lithuania. They're just trying to do some clarification. They're trying to decide how they're going to proceed, when they're going to proceed with virtual currencies, virtual assets now. And I think they're leaning towards Bitcoin. This is another great article. Mexican government betting on fintechs to lower remittance costs. Big banks such as, and the article called Western Union and MoneyGram as banks. Western Union and MoneyGram are not banks. And I think that when articles are printed up like this confuses everybody, because people start thinking Western Union, MoneyGram, American Express, they are all banks. They're not banks. They're payment providers. Okay. But anyway, this might be a great article for some of you that are looking at a broader perspective in virtual currencies. Virtual currencies actually, like the digital asset XRP, is primarily being used in remittance payments, that type of thing. So as you continue to go around the globe, though, when you look at virtual currencies and what they do around the globe, what they don't define very well is they don't define how they're going to work with inflation, because fiat money works with inflation. Fiat money works with credit. Fiat money works with unemployment. Fiat money works with medical care and the medical industry. So, you know, you can see how virtual currencies are in their infancy stage when you go around the world and you have a broader understanding of what's needed around the world in terms of money. But here we go. Mexican government betting on fintechs to lower remittance costs. Big banks such as Western Union and MoneyGram will eventually be forced to cut their remittance costs. And that's actually a good thing for virtual currencies, you know, because that's what they're going to do, is cut that cost. You know, but the problem, before virtual currencies can cut the cost, guess what, guys? The MasterCard and Visa are going to try to increase their fees. So when the costs get cut, it's just going to go back down to where it actually was. All right, let me move a little further. Ripple, UBRI, partners with IIT Bombay and other universities to solve world remittance problems. And this is another great thing. This is good news for the XRP community. This is a good thing because that's what the digital asset XRP is supposed to be doing. That's what Xcurrent, Xrap, and Xvia, their software as a service, is supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be that virtual currency that links between these banks and these payment providers to help lower cost. And that's the great thing about Ripple, is that what it says that it's going to do is lower cost. But the problem is, does anybody believe the banks? Let me go to some of the things, and I'll come back to this increasing of their fees. I just talked about that. But let's go to, and I'll come back to that, something that I tweeted out. Oh my God, yeah, did anybody see the NBA All-Star game? Right here, this is Steph Curry passing to the Greek Freak. And he sticks that dunk. That was the best play of the NBA All-Star game. All right, shout out to Nathan. That's a sweet post right there. Bam. Anyway, let's get back to Spain's central bank considers Bitcoin to be inefficient. So they don't want to use. There's some more central bank news about Spain. Here's central bank news on Chile. Cryptocurrency is not likely to replace traditional money. There is another central bank issue. You know, I keep talking about it, guys. Central banks are not interested right now. They don't even care. All right, here we go. I had just mentioned previously that, does anybody believe banks? Does anybody believe bank? We're doing a documentary. That's why we're here in the Bay Area now. We're going to be doing this documentary on, we're working on it. But I tweeted this out. It says, bank lords don't care about trust. They care more about monopolizing on profits. Again, they will not lose control of the world monetary system because of blockchain technology. They will not be forced to do anything. Banks will cooperate when it is in their best interest to do so. And I think that's a fair statement. I don't think that I know anybody that would disagree with that statement, because banks don't want to do nothing that they don't have to do. And they only make moves when they're forced to do it. And here's the other part about it, is that banks are only forced to make moves when there's regulatory policy on a bank to do so. In fact, banks wouldn't let us know how much money they have or anything like that. That's why they're having problems with open ledgers and showing what's on their books, because banks don't want to show what's on their books. Banks are like cartels, man. They're like, they're the original cartels, okay? And that's how banks operate. So they don't want, they only want to monopolize on profits. And they're not going to lose control. Like I said, JPMorgan has been around as long as America's almost been a country. And so that's an over-exaggeration, I know. But they don't want to let people know what they're doing. So they're not going to do anything that they don't have to do. And then I tweeted this out too. And what I had in mind was the stable coin, JPMorgan's stable coin. The IMF, World Bank, and central banks are in favor of stable coins. And I call anything stable coin, my definition is that because it's a new modern vernacular for the 21st century, 2019, stable coins, this is new terminology. So to me, anything that's connected with fiat is a stable coin, because it is stabilized supposedly by the currency that's backing it. The IMF said governments should consider central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, to prevent fraud and improve financial services in both developed and developing countries. And you guys know that if you've been following, if you're part of the crypto news and investigative reports community, that I have been talking about that know your customer anti-money laundering situation, you know. And so when that's the big thing with the IMF regarding virtual currencies. If your virtual currency can't address those policies, the monetary policy in the digital age, this is the IMF right here. This is the IMF article on that. If your virtual currency doesn't address those issues, then the world will not be able to use your virtual currency. If it doesn't, you know, come out and identify how they're going to prevent anti-money laundering and you know your customer and these kind of laws and regulations and stuff, it won't be able to be used. And so that's kind of what I tweeted out right there. All right. Let's move on a little bit. Oh, let's go back up. There's a couple other things that I want to share with you before we get out of here. Is right here. Oh, yeah. Let's stop by here. And February 14th, one of the things that I want to talk to you about real quick here is that the virtual currency XLM. This coin was launched in 2014, and it's like Ripple. It is a global payment and currency exchange platform designed to make it easier to send payments and remittances across the planet. So it is kind of doing kind of the same thing that the digital asset, the company Ripple is doing, and the digital asset XRP. So Stellar is kind of doing that. And the reason why I bring this up is because they're working with the Federal Reserve. So Jed McCaleb, it's interesting that on February 14th, out here in San Francisco, they were at the Moscone Center downtown San Francisco, and they had a big meeting down there. They had a lot of people from there talking about the move of Stellar. It might, and I know a lot of people that own XRP keep an eye on Stellar. I know that because they're pretty close, because Jed McCaleb used to work for Ripple, but they're working with the Federal Reserve, and so that's big news. Anytime the Federal Reserve is working with your virtual currency, there's a possibility that they could be used in a Federal Reserve circumstances. The Federal Reserve is meeting with XLM for a reason, okay? And so you might want to keep an eye on that little brother. You know, the big brother is XRP and the little brother is XLM. I think people that are following this, I'm not trying to offend the XLM people that are following me. I'm just saying that XLM is also working with the Federal Reserve. That's big news. And that, you know, and that came out February 14th. So that was big news, February 14th. Anyway, let's see what we got before we get out of here, so we won't go too much longer. MasterCard teams up with Stellar and starts building on the blockchain. There it is. There's some more Stellar news. MasterCard teams up with Stellar and starts building on the blockchain. So you might want to start paying attention to Stellar, especially if the Federal Reserve is using it. MasterCard is teaming up with it. Man, there has been some great Stellar news. All right, so let me move on. We already saw Steph Curry's pass. We talked about that. We talked about central bank digital currencies. We talked about the IMF already. And we talked about JPMorgan. All right. Actually, guys, we have gone through it all. Please continue to follow us at Crypto News and Investigative Reports, where we try to give you nothing but the news. Nothing but the news. Once again, please follow us on Twitter. We're Crypto News and Investigative Reports. Our handle is RobTech, ROBTECH, RobTech P. All right? Wherever you are, have a good day. And if it's nighttime, wherever you are, have a good night. And thank you for joining us.